Welcome back to Business and Leisure. In the past episodes of BNL, you have met up close and personal some of the Filipino business movers who have made an impact not only in their community but on the Philippine economy as a whole. For this upcoming feature, we will meet a prominent Filipino who has contributed much of his expertise to the banking sector.
Teodoro Limcaoco is the outgoing president of BPI Family Bank, and he is moving on to a more important role in the Bank of Philippine Islands corporate offices as the new Chief Financial Officer of Ayala Land. But that is going ahead of the story. TG Limcaoco, as he is more commonly known to colleagues in the banking world, is not about to leave the financial world just yet, because at the age of only 45, he still has a whole lot to offer. Let's trace how this young but very accomplished banker came to figure prominently in the banking sector.
The Limcaocos are from Cabuyao, Laguna, and my mother's side is from Lipa, Batangas, Calao, Katigbak. So the Limcaocos trace their roots to Cabuyao, Laguna as early as 1860. So while we might have a Chinese last name, the family's been in the Philippines for over 150 years already. Well, my father was an engineer by training. He took the government exams. I think he placed number 4. But he never practiced as an engineer. He started his career as a teacher at the University of the Philippines and at the Ateneo High School. He served in government under the National Electrification Administration for a couple of years and then became a businessman. As a businessman, he dabbled in a lot. He was an entrepreneur. He had banking, he had real estate. And in the end, he focused on the automobile sector. My mother, on the other hand, was, I would say, the perfect wife, was supportive of my father all throughout their married life. Was just at his side all the time, literally.
TG has 3 siblings, and he is the only one who doesn't work in the family businesses. His brother, Felix III, oversees the family business in the automobile sector, while a second brother, a lawyer by profession, is an undersecretary in the Department of Transportation and Communications. The only girl and the youngest in the family, Katrina, is married to Coco Alcuaz, a broadcast journalist, and oversees what TG calls the family's hospitality business. This includes the famous Swiss Inn restaurants and other small hotels that the family owns.
Why am I not in the family business? It's a very good story. It's a very complicated story. I guess my father always wanted me to work with the family, but he always said, you should get your training in the beginning from outside the family so to make the mistakes. So I did that, like all my siblings. We all worked for someone else before, but I just never, got the opportunity to rejoin the family. I always enjoyed working outside, being a professional, working for a professional organization like BPI and some international banks. And my father always understood that was important to me. So in his mind, he said, for as long as you help out in the family, on the weekends, help your brothers, help your sister, help himself and my mother, that was okay. And I really value and appreciate him for having done that, to allow me. Traditional Filipino families, Filipino Chinese families, is like, you have to work in the family. He, being eldest pa, right? So he was basically very understanding of that. And I did my part. I helped my brothers, I hope. And so far, it's done really well. I've been really successful as a family, and I would say I've been very happy with my career outside the family as well.
TG married his wife, Ellen, in 1989 and has 3 children now, 2 girls and 1 boy. Patricia, the eldest, graduated from Stanford University, and this dedicated runner is now taking a pre-medicine course at the University of Pennsylvania. The second girl, Regina, born in 1994, the creative and artistic family member, is now enrolled at the University of California in San Diego, taking up psychology.
And my youngest, my son, is a freshman at Stanford. He was born in 1996, and he still is figuring out what he will study at Stanford. I like to say he's taking up basketball, but he gets mad at me for that.
You will note that TG Limcaoco puts a premium on education. something that his father taught him early on.
My father had this belief that you set your roots here in the Philippines, so I took my high school here at Ateneo. I did 2 years at UP Diliman, and then I transferred out, and I finished my college at Stanford.
Although he didn't grow up in Cabuyao, he spent all his summers here, where his father spent much of his growing years. The ancestral house in Cabuyao still stands now for the occasional family reunions in the province. At the Ateneo, he graduated at the top of the class in high school, which was no surprise for many who knew him. His father offered to have him get his college degree in the United States, but he had second thoughts about this.
And I went to a teacher I really respected at Ateneo, and I went to him and I said, should I stay at UP or should I go to Stanford? And he said, what do you want to take? And I said, I wanted to take math and computer sciences. And he said, TG, you would be so stupid not to go to Stanford. So my father allowed me to go, and I went there and I finished there.
In Stanford, he finished with a degree in mathematical sciences, and he proceeded to take his master's in business administration at the University of Pennsylvania at Wharton. But before that, he worked in Silicon Valley for 2 years as a total nerd, a tech programming software, and in these 2 years, he decided that what he really wanted to be was a banker, hence his MBA at Wharton. After Wharton, he worked for a year with JP Morgan, which he found extremely challenging and fast-paced. But the quality of life in New York didn't sit too well with him, so he needed to go home.
You need to have friends around, you need to have family around. So in 1989, I came back to Manila and I interviewed with several banks. And one bank said, come join us, and that was BPI. I joined BPI in 1989. I worked for some of the greatest bankers, and I did corporate finance work, sort of investment banking, as a young kid. I learned a lot then. And in 1992, my old boss from JP Morgan, New York, called me. And he said, TG, we're opening an office in Singapore to do what you were doing in New York. Come join us in Singapore. And so I heard the call of Singapore, and so I left BPI in 92, and I went to Singapore to join JP Morgan again. And we set up a business in JP Morgan doing derivatives, and I did that for 3 years. I had my firstborn. She was 1 year old, so my wife and I went there and we had quality time with her. And my second kid was born in Singapore. And in 1995, in JP Morgan, a group of us Filipinos were working for JP Morgan, including the current president of BPI, Bongkon Singh. We got together and we put forward a proposal to JP Morgan on how to set up a real Philippine business for JP Morgan. And JP Morgan said no. They wanted to focus on Thailand and Korea. And in hindsight, I think that was the right decision for them, but I was disappointed. And I told my boss then, I said, well, if we're not going to open an office in Manila, I think it's time for me to go home to Manila. So I came back to Manila in 1995 and worked for BPI again.
TG Limcaoco has done the rounds and faced the challenges presented by the opportunities that came his way. And in the ensuing years, he has made a mark in the banking sector. And he has made a full circle as he went back to his BPI family.
So I worked for BPI 95 to 97. I was with BPI Capital. I was doing their fixed income, and I was the president of BPI Securities. And I did that for 2 years. And in 1997, Barclays Bank, the British bank, the largest British bank, called me and asked me if I wanted to head up their Philippine business. And of course, as a 35-year-old young man, who would not want to do that? So again, I walked to my boss in BPI and said, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave a second time because how can you not allow me to be the country head of Barclays Bank? So I left in 97. I built up an office here for them. But unfortunately, the Asian financial crisis hit in July 1997. And Barclays Bank, in September of that same year, decided they wanted to close all their Asian offices. including the Philippines. So I had a job for 6 months, and then I was told no more.
Because of the Asian financial crisis, Barclays Bank had to close their newly opened Philippine branch, and TG Limcaoco had to lay off some 20 employees of the bank, though he was quick to add that the bank compensated everyone quite well.
In 1998, after I had closed down the whole office, basically Ayala Corporation asked me to join them in their treasury. And that's how I stayed. So since 1998, I've been working for Ayala Corporation. I did lots of things for Ayala. I did treasury, I did technology, I did finance work for them. And in 2007, they seconded me to BPI to work for Mr. Montinola, who was then the president. So in 2007, Ayala seconded me to BPI to be president of BPI Capital. And in 2010, Mr. Montinola asked me to become the president of BPI Family Bank. And that's where I am today. Nothing beats working for BPI and Ayala. Seriously.
When he exits BPI Family Bank, he will immediately be back in the Ayala fold as Chief Finance Officer. He obviously feels at home in this company.
Ayala Corporation is a wonderful organization filled with professional people, and we work wherever we feel we're needed best and where we're needed. So I'm looking forward to working again in Ayala Corporation and in what I considered my dream job in 1998.
Professionally, TG Limcaoco is a member of FINEX, the Financial Executives of the Philippines, and is actively involved as a member of the Rotary Club of Makati West, serving as president from 2001 to 2002. Among his pet projects at the Rotary Club is the Gift of Life, which offers open heart surgery for impoverished children.
The consummate banker's light continues to shine brightly in the corporate world. This young banker who put a premium on learning and shared what he learned in the corporation that he considers his home, and did not forget to pay his blessings forward.